Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to talk about graphs 5 in unit 5. Now in graphs 5, first we're going to talk about representing inequalities graphically or representing the inequalities on a graph. Now first, let's take a look at one of the questions here. As you can see, when you have a shaded region, this means it's the unwanted region. And the region that we want is not shaded. But all of this depends on the question itself. So you have to read the question carefully and focus on the region they want you to shade. They might tell you shade the unwanted region, or they might not tell you to shade any region, but label one of the regions between lines, label it R, for example. So let's take a look at one of the questions and we will understand the idea, okay? First here, describe the unshaded region in each graph. Now, for this graph, we have a shaded region. We're going to describe the unshaded region, like they said, describe the unshaded region. So this shape here, or this graph, this is the shaded part. So this part, we don't want it. We don't want the shaded part. So this part is not needed. We want the unshaded part, which is this one. Now, how do we describe it? First, we look at the line that we have here, this line between the two parts or between the two regions. This line is a connected line and it is a one line like this, a straight line connected, not like this line here, not connected. So a connected line means what? It means there's an equal sign in the inequality. There's an equal sign in the inequality. First, we have to understand how do we write the equation of a line. When we look at this line here, this line is crossing the x-axis. It's crossing the x-axis over here. And it's crossing the x-axis in 2. So the equation of this line will be x equals 2. That's the first step, writing the equation of the line, writing the equation of the line. Now, after you write the equation of the line, you have to look at the regions that you have. As we said, the shaded region is not, or it's unwanted. Now, the unshaded region is the region that they want. This means we have to describe this region. First, we take a look at one of the points on the region. For example, this point here. The x of this point is what? It's 1. We notice that the 1 is smaller than 2. The 1 is smaller than 2. So basically, the x is over here in this part or this region. This means that the x is smaller than 2. The x is smaller than 2. So we write it like this. X is smaller than 2, like this. Now, this is the first part, writing the inequality and then deciding if the inequality has an equal sign or not. After writing the inequality, as we said, the x, for example, here is 1, and the x is smaller than 2, because the 1 is smaller than 2. At the same time, because this line is a connected line, it means we have to put an equal sign under the inequality sign like this. So it's going to be smaller than or equal to 2, smaller than or equal to 2. And this is how you describe the unshaded region in this question. Now, let's take a look at this question here. Same idea. We have a line, but this time it's not a connected line. It's not a connected line. It's a dotted line, or it's not connected, okay? So first thing we do, we have to write the equation of the line. As we said, this line is crossing which axis? It's crossing the y-axis. It's crossing the y-axis in 4. Crossing the y-axis in 4. So first thing we do, we have to write the equation, which is y equals 4. That's the first part. Writing the equation of the line. Now, after writing the equation of the line, as we said, the shaded region is unwanted, so we don't need it. And we want to describe the unshaded region, which is this one. So the same idea, we look at the points. For example, this point here on the y-axis, this one is 5. This one is 5. And these points are above the line. So basically, they are bigger than 4. Bigger than 4. This means the y will be bigger than 4. So y will be bigger than 4, like this. Y is bigger than 4. And because the line is not connected, it means you don't have, or you're not supposed to put an equal sign under the inequality, or bigger than or smaller than sign. So focus on this. First, we have to write the equation of the line, and then check what is the part that we need. If they want the unshaded region, it means you have to work on the unshaded region. Check one of the points on the unshaded region and then compare it to the point that you have. If it's smaller than, write x smaller than. If it's bigger than, write x bigger than. And make sure you're using the right axis. If the line is crossing the x-axis, it should be x. If the line is crossing the y-axis, it should be y. And then describe the unshaded region like they told you. If the line is connected, it means there's an equal sign. If the line is not connected, it means there is no equal sign in the inequality that you are trying to describe. Now, let's take a look at some other questions. As we said, these two questions are one of the simplest questions in this topic or this chapter. Now, let's take a look at a higher level questions here. Now, something you have to focus on, if the shaded region, this is one of the rules that we use all of the time here. If the shaded region is on, I'm sorry, the unshaded region, if it's on the left of the line, it means it's smaller than. If it's on the right of the line, it means it's bigger than. If it's on top, it means it's bigger than. If it's in the bottom, or if it's under the line, it means it's smaller than. This is one of the rules that we use all of the time in describing inequalities. Focus on the region that they want. Check if the region is on the left, it's smaller than. If the region is on the right, it's bigger than. If the region is on top, it's bigger than. If the region is on the bottom or below, it's smaller than. That's the whole idea. So it's the same as using the x and the y axis. For example, I'll show you the x and the y axis. Sorry. When you describe, think about the x and the y axis. Think about the x and the y axis, because you always have the x and the y axis, and you have to use them to describe the regions that you want. Here we have the x and the y axis. This is the y axis, and this is the x axis. Think about it like this, because describing regions is the same as the x and the y axis. If the region is going up and it's above the line, it means it's bigger than. If the region is going down, it's smaller than. If the region is going to the right, it's bigger than. If the region is going to the left, it's smaller than. That's the whole idea of describing the region or the unshaded region. So as we said, let's put this here. Describing the regions depends on what? It depends on the x and the y axis. So you have to understand. And at the same time, you can check with points. For example, here, let's take a look at this question here. Here we have a line. First thing we do, we write the equation of the line. As we said, this line is crossing the y axis. As focus on this. This idea of crossing an axis happens only if it's vertical or horizontal lines only. But diagonal lines, you must write the whole equation of a line, okay? So here, this is crossing the y-axis. This means that the equation is y equals, and the point crossing is 3. So y equals 3. Now, I want to turn this into an inequality, and because they want the unshaded region, it means they want this region here, the unshaded region. Now, I take any point on this region. For example, this point here, the y here is 2. The y is 2. Now, why did I pick the y points? Because we're talking about y. I can't say, x is 1 here, or x is 2. Because we're talking about y, it means I have to pick a point on the y-axis. So the y is 1 or 2. Both of them, 1 or 2, are what? They are smaller than 3. They are smaller than 3. And at the same time, you can see that the region is under the line. We said under means smaller. This means that y will be smaller than d. That's the whole idea. And because the line is a connected line, it means there's an equal sign under the inequality sign. And that's the whole idea of this question, if the lines are horizontal or vertical. Now we're going to go ahead and check the other question that has a vertical, horizontal, or horizontal line, but with two lines. For example, like this. Here we have two lines. You can see two lines, and the unshaded region is here. The unshaded region is between them. Now, how do you describe these? Let me put it here and explain it in a simple way. First, you have to look at the lines. What are they crossing? They are crossing the x-axis. You can see that. So you have to write x in the middle like this. X. So they are crossing the x-axis, you have to write x. If they are crossing the y-axis, you have to write y in the middle. I'll show you the steps of the y with another question, okay? Now, as we said, because they're crossing the x-axis, we have to say x and we put it in the middle, yes. We put it in the middle like this. Now we take the two numbers that we have, we put them on the sides. So here we have 5, we put 5 here, like this. And we have a 2 on the other side, we put the 2 on this side like this. So we put the two numbers like we did here. Focus on this step, it's very important. So we put the two numbers and we put what? We put the x because the x in the middle. So we put x here because this is the region that we're talking about and it's between both of these lines. Now we come to the part that we want to decide if it's equal, bigger than or smaller than. Now, when you look at this region in the middle here, you can write one of the numbers of the x's. For example, that's 3 here, right? So 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the 3 and the 4 are bigger than 2. Bigger than 2. So the sign should be like this. Sign should be like this. X is bigger than 2, like this. Focus on this. X is bigger than 2, like this, okay? So the 3 and the 4 are bigger than 2. And the 3 and 4 are smaller than 5. So the sign should be the same like this. Smaller than. So when you read it, x is bigger than 2 and smaller than 5. Now, because we have a dotted line here and here, they're not connected, it means we don't put any equal sign under the inequality sign. That's the whole idea of this question. So as you can see, we wrote x in the middle, and we put some values for the x here, 3 and 4. And we notice that the 3 and 4 are bigger than 2. At the same time, they are smaller than 5. And we don't put equal signs because the lines are not connected. Now, let's move on to the other question that has a y. Let's check if we have a question like this. In this video, we're going to talk about horizontal and vertical lines only. And then in the other video, we're going to talk about diagonal lines, okay? This is the x, same idea, x, x, okay. Let's see this one. We found a y question here. That's a y question, obviously. So same idea. Both of them are crossing the y-axis. This means the value in the middle should be y. The value in the middle should be y. Now, after writing the value in the middle, we write the numbers, -2 and 3. And they have to be in order of size. So -2 on this side and 3 on the other side, like this. 3 on the other side. And the y in the middle, because the region that they want is the one in the middle here. Now, after doing this, I'm going to write the signs, bigger than and smaller than. First, before writing the signs, I have to write the values in the middle. I can see this value here, which is the 0. I can use this value. Now, the 0 is smaller than 3. At the same time, it's bigger than -2. This means the y is bigger than -2. Let me do it with a line. Bigger than -2, like this. The y is bigger than -2. and smaller than the 3. So it's going to be like this. So the y, which is 0 here, it's smaller than 3, y smaller than 3, and y bigger than negative 2. Y is bigger than negative 2. Now we check the lines that we are talking about. This line here is a connected line. This means there should be an equal sign. So with the 3 here, there should be an equal sign over here. But here on the negative 2 part, there's no equal sign because the line is not a connected line. Now, this is the final answer for this question, and this is how you describe the inequalities from a graph. Now, in this video, we will focus only on the inequalities that has a vertical and horizontal lines only. In the other video, we're going to talk about diagonal lines and how to describe the inequalities graphically using diagonal lines. Now, let me check if I covered everything. For this line here, or this inequality question here, we want the unshaded region. We want the unshaded region. Now, the unshaded region has two regions, which is this one and this one. So we're going to describe both regions, and we can use one inequality. So first, we have to decide which axis is it crossing. It's crossing the x-axis. Very good. This means the number in the middle should be x, or the variable in the middle should be x. So let's write it here. It should be x like this. Now the two numbers, we have 4 here. Let's write it here. And we have negative 3. And they must be in order of size, from the smallest to the largest. Okay, like this. This means it starts with negative 3. In the middle, we have x, ends with 4. Okay. Now, to write the inequality signs, I have to look at the regions and write the values that I have in each region. Now, the x is here. So this one is what? Very good. This is negative 2. Negative 2. Now, the negative 2 is what? It's smaller or bigger than negative 3? Sorry. So it's not negative 2. My bad. It's negative 4. Negative 4. Because negative 2 should be here. Yes, should be here. My bad. So the negative 4, is it smaller or bigger than negative 3? Negative 4, very good. It's smaller. Negative 4 is smaller than negative 3. So the x should be smaller like this than negative 3. And then when you come to this side here, when you write a value for x, for example, after the 4, we have a 5. Now the 5 is what to the 4? Very good. The 5 is bigger than 4. 5 is bigger than 4. This means the x is bigger than 4, like this. And then make sure that you understand the idea. So the negative 4 is smaller than the negative 3. The x is smaller than negative 3. And the 5 is bigger than 4, so x is bigger than 4. Now we look at the lines. Because they are connected, both of them are connected, it means we have to put an equal sign under the inequality sign. And that's the whole idea of finding the inequalities or writing the inequalities from a graph or graphically. Now, so in this video, we talked about the lines, vertical and horizontal lines. In the next video, we're going to talk about diagonal lines and how to describe the inequalities of the regions between these lines. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.